So what do you call yourself? Welcome to the LaTangela Show. Hey.
Hey, what can I do for you this fine day?
This is your destiny. Hot, hot, hot.
Right now.
Welcome to the LaTangela Show.
Kick it.
Come on in and enjoy yourself.
Right now.
We gon' party like no one else. Welcome to the LaTangela Show.
Meet Vaughan Bagley from MTV.
Hello, and I see that you're rocking with the world's greatest because John is that guy, you know? And thank you so much.
This morning.
Look, I know that you all have been working behind the scenes to get everything done, and you have been extremely busy. I have questions that need answers. So this is your first trip to the hot seat and the tan line. Just promise in advance that it will not be your last.
All right, great. I can't wait.
Now listen, as the MTV's Director of Social Impact, tell me a little bit about what does that job entail?
Yeah, so MTV has a social impact team, which is where I sit, and we are lucky enough to get to use the brand superpowers for good, as we say. So we focus on providing resources and tools for our audiences to be able to take meaningful actions, and that could be like something like voting. It could be becoming a poll worker. We're very focused on civics, but then also mental health actions, for example. How do we make sure that our audiences know what resources are available to them and provide that across all of our networks and brands?
And that's important. You know, MTV has been a staple for so many for so long. And as you said, it's a super brand, right? And to use those superpowers for good, especially when it comes down to the decisions that we have the power to make. Often we get caught up in the entertainment aspect of it. We get caught up in the business aspect of it, but to see that they do have that compelled to say, I need to reach out and get the message across to let our viewers know that it's important to let your voice be heard as well. And there's a lot of responsibility that lies there, right? Your job is nowhere near over after they say, okay, let's get to the polls. But what has been one of the biggest pivotal moments as of, we need to reach out, we need to connect. If you find that there is a disconnect between the audience and the message, what has been the biggest hurdle for you to get the messaging across?
I mean, what we try to do is really to meet them where they are. So we have obviously a lot of content across all of our brands. It's not just MTV that we focus on, it's VH1, it's CMT, it's Comedy Central. And so there's a lot of content there where we know that young people are inviting this talent into their living rooms every night. These are people that they trust. And so what we think about is how do we really use that in a way that allows us to meet them where they already are, and use those shows, employ those talent to engage them and to provide them with information, because so often what we're finding is that young people want to vote. They're energized, they're excited to make their voice heard. We just did a study with the Ad Council that showed that 59% of young people this election cycle plan on voting because they think it's their civic duty.
Right.
That is awesome. It is their civic duty. It's all of our civic duty. But one of the things that we're seeing is that oftentimes if they don't vote, they're not voting either because they don't feel like they know enough. They're not informed enough, or it's inconvenient. It's really hard to fit voting in the middle of a very busy life where you have school and you have work and you're just trying to make ends meet and get through the day. How do you fit all of that in? Voting should be easy. It should be fun. It should be empowering. It shouldn't be something that's a drag or something that's really hard. And so what we've really started to focus on is, how do we make sure that voters have the information they need to be informed voters? How do we make sure they, know where their polling places are, know what they're voting
for those college students, because maybe they're not at home where they registered and they can't make it home. So now what are my steps? What do I do?
Exactly. So what are your early voting options? Every state is different because we like to make things a little bit more complicated in America. So, to make sure that we are giving them that information, that they also know what their candidates stand for.
Right.
Because every ballot could be different, and you could have heard a lot about who's at the top of the ticket, but you don't know the ins and outs of what your city council member stands for, or your sheriff, or your district attorney. And these are all the positions that are going to impact your day-to-day life every day and have consequences perhaps for decades. So that's one thing. And then the second thing is that convenience and flexibility factor. Early voting allows for more flexibility, and it allows for hopefully more convenience in being able to fit voting into an already very busy calendar and schedule.
Right. You know, in Louisiana, we're so heavy when it comes to the colleges. We never want our college students to feel as if their voices are minimized or as if their vote does not matter. You know, we have LSU, we have Southern, we have BRCC, UNO, Tulane, the list goes on and on and on. So if you start saying, well, I'm busy, I'm in school, I'm not at home, I can't let my vote be heard, then look at all the votes that have just gone by the wayside.
Totally.
So they really need to know that it's important and to educate themselves on the platform. As you stated, those who are operating on our behalf on a day-to-day basis, oftentimes they'll get in because we're familiar with a yard sign and the colors of their logo versus us being up to date as of what it is they stand for. Who are they? What have they done? And I'm a stickler on that. You have to show me what you've done with yours before I let you touch mine.
Yeah.
You know, and holding these politicians accountable, you know, with this new generation, everything is right here. It's in our hands. It's on our devices. So if they want to reach us, they know how, but how is it that we can make it so much easier to where we get to those battlegrounds, to where we get to those college students and we say, okay, we're going to inform you now on the other side of the coin. You know who the candidate is, you know what they're about. Now, this is how you get your chance to go out and make the vote and make it count.
Yeah. And I think, you know, well, first I'll say we have a program this year called the Campus Challenge. We've been working with the Fair Election Center's Campus Vote Project to help college students bring early voting sites to their campuses. Because what we found is that so often when young people don't vote, if they don't vote, they cite convenience as their reason for not voting. So we did a study just this past spring with Duke University students to look at what does campus access actually look like? How are students able to vote? Are they able to vote on their campus? And shockingly, we found that 74% of college campuses don't have any in-person voting options at all. 74%. And it is scary. It's disturbing. And 90% don't have any early voting options. So what we did was work with these college students to try to bring those options to their campus, because otherwise they're potentially going miles just to be able to get to the ballot box.
Right.
And it becomes a huge, major burden on them. And so, you know, I think that's one thing, is that to be able to bring the ballot box to them, make it as convenient as possible. Colleges are an awesome, perfect place to be able to have a voting space. They have centrally located big facilities that can handle lots and lots of people. They have libraries and gyms and stadiums and all the things that are typical voting locations. And yet, obviously, we're underutilizing them. And then the other thing I'll say, just to your point earlier, is who are the right messengers? Your peers. When it comes to one of the reasons why we want to work with college students is because there are so many amazing leaders on college campuses right there who want to vote, who want to get their peers to vote. And it's so much more powerful having them be out there doing that work on their campuses than it is having someone from MTV come in and, you know, stand there passing out information or, you know, getting people to that polling place. So we are trying to just empower them to do the work on the ground in their communities. They know their peers, they know their communities way better than we ever could. And it's really important to pass that mic to them and give them that opportunity.
Right. And then those college ambassadors, they really do hold a torch to it. Because, you know, a lot of us, and I'm not just going to say the college students, a lot of us individually, adults, we don't really take it as seriously as we should when it comes down to educating ourselves, our peers, or even going out to those smaller elections that we feel, oh, it'll be okay. Or, you know, it's on a game day, so I can't make that. Or my vacation is coming up, I don't have time to do that. We're only making those appointments and making the adjustments when it's an election that has some type of an appeal to us, when we really should say it's my duty to get this done. But when you started calling out stats that 74% from the study, it's almost like now this is an accountability factor. Why is it that a college campus would allow 74% to say we don't have access? So now you have these institutions that need to look at that. What are we doing to make sure that we're catering towards our students to empower them to do their civic duty?
Absolutely. And we're working with, a number of colleges. I know there are some programs that focus on engaging college presidents.
Okay, good.
Is incredibly important because obviously, it goes all the way up to the top when you're talking about prioritizing something as big as civic education. And so there are programs, there are organizations that are really zeroing in on this as a problem. And hopefully we'll see some shifts over the next few years. But the problem, of course, too, is that we're seeing a lot of legislation come up across the country that's making it harder to vote, but also harder to bring access to voting boxes. So let's see where we land, but we're doing everything we can and want to continue to do that to expand access and make it easier because, like I said, it should not be hard to vote for anyone.
Absolutely. And for more information, how can we stay a part of the conversation? I know that as outside begins to reopen and you're getting all of these targeted areas, make a field trip to Louisiana. Think of this as an extension of your office. And I'm your official tour guide. I got you covered, Vaughan.
Love it. I can't wait. I would love to come down. And yes, voteearly.org is the website we are sending people to. Tomorrow is Vote Early Day. So this is a holiday where we are able to empower everyone in America to know their early voting options. So it's a great time to go to voteearly.org, put in your zip code, find out what kind of early voting options you have where you are, and get out there and vote before or early on election day.
I love it. Voteearly.org. Make it happen. Vaughan, I'll see you soon. And thank you so much for you and your team and all the hard work and dedication that you all are putting in. It is important. MTV's Vote Early Day is in full effect. We have the Director of Social Impact, Vaughan Bagley. Now you chase the sun or let the sun chase you. But either way, get after it. I love you. And there's absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.